Paige Lindenberg became a world powerboating champion at 11 years old. She then transitioned into motorsport and racing cars shortly thereafter, and has spent over 2 decades competing in a male-dominated industry. She has the titles, the track record, and the helmet to prove it. But that's not why she's here today. She's here because of something far more interesting than what she's won, and that's how she was raised to see herself in the first place. This is the woman behind the helmet. Welcome to the room she built. Okay, Paige, welcome to the room she built. We're so happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your career up until this point? Give us the highlight reel.
So I'm 34. I race cars. I started racing in powerboats before cars. Got into my first powerboat when I was 5, started officially racing when I was 7, and then transitioned into car racing when I was about 12. Between 10 and 12, my dad had a really bad accident in powerboating and he was declared dead for the second time. So he decided powerboating was really dangerous, so cars were safer.
Cars were safer, sure.
But the difference was that if you had an accident in cars, you didn't drown, whereas in powerboating, he had drowned for the second time. So I think that was like the turning point, from the powerboating side. I really loved powerboating. It was a huge part of my life. And I think I would have loved to have seen where it would have taken me if we didn't stop then. But car racing's also a huge part of my life and I love it just as much. It's not my day job. I would love to just drive cars all day, but it's not my day job. I have my own events and marketing business and I run courses called Car Basics courses to teach people how to get by day to day with their own vehicles. I do a few talks at corporates. I got a few of my own little things, and then I also work in the automotive industry with my family. We have Shelby in South Africa, Road to Race, and then the racing team Lindenberg Racing. So
Do you sleep?
I used to sleep more than I do now. I've just become a mom. My baby's 3 months old.
So now you definitely don't sleep.
Yeah, now sleep is way less. He's really good, actually. I'm up once or twice a night with him, so it's not bad. But I'm I'm not a night person at all. So I'm in bed, before he was born, I was in bed before 8. Now he pushes it some nights. But I'm up between 3:30 and 4. Get stuff done. I love gymming at 5. I feel like it's the best start of my day. Get the energy out, get my day started, and then after gym I'll sort of start with the rest of my life. But it's busy.
Yeah, sounds it.
Yeah.
So obviously you come from a motorsport and powerboat family. You were introduced to that world by your dad. Did you ever feel disadvantaged because you were a woman in a man's world?
I wouldn't say I felt disadvantaged. I think it was more the pressure of having to prove I had a right to be there and I had to prove that I belonged. And I think a lot of that also came with the surname because I was born into a really well-known family where the surname was everything in the sport. And I think a lot of people had the opinion that I was there for the surname and not because I had my own talent. And I think that took a lot in the beginning for me to build, is to prove that I had a right to be there, that I had a talent and I wasn't just there for the surname. And on top of it, being a woman obviously brings a lot more stress and a lot more pressure to have to prove that you have a right to be there because a lot of people don't believe women should have been in that space. I feel like it's a lot better in today's day and age compared to what it was back then. There's definitely more room for women in male dominated spaces in today's day and age, and there's a lot of noise about it. So I think it's becoming a little bit easier, but it still comes with its challenges, and I faced huge challenges whether it was working in the industry or racing. I think you've always got to work a little bit harder than what the guys do to prove that you can actually be there.
How did you show up in those moments when you were you just I'm going to prove you wrong by beating you and gloating in that way, or how do you show the men in that environment hey, I'm a woman, but don't judge me based on my gender?
I think a lot of it sort of proved itself in my results, in my talent. I've had a really good career and I've achieved a lot in the racing space. So I think I silently proved myself without having to have too much of a voice and make a noise about it. I'm not somebody who really makes a noise. I've always stayed out of the politics and kept my nose clean and tried not to be involved in much conflict, but there have been instances where I've had to have a voice. And the day that all kind of changed was there was a guy in particular who every time I passed him on track would try and take me out on the straight because it was obviously an ego thing. And eventually my dad sat me down and he was like, if this is what you want to do, you need to find your backbone. Like if you want to do this, you need to prove, like you need to show them that you're not going to take the nonsense. And I'll never forget, he did it to me again. And I got out of my car with my helmet on and my gloves on and I stormed down the pit lane and I gave him a piece of my mind. Not in the most ladylike way, unfortunately. But that I think was the turning point where people realized like I was there for real.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to take the bullying on the circuit. And I think that's the day that a lot changed, where I think people got more respect for me and realized that like I will have a voice when I need to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've tried to stay out of too much of a mess and too much like negativity. So silently I've just put my head down and done the best that I could do and proven that I can actually be there and do it.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, even with your surname, even if you're proving yourself, people will still bring it back to the fact that the only reason you're in that car is because of the surname. So you're constantly having to reprove yourself that you deserve to be there.
Yeah, 100%. I think now, like, I've made a good enough name for myself and built my career to a point where it's not really a conversation anymore.
Yeah, your Paige.
But I still have the pressure of being a Lindenberg, right? Like, it'll always be with me. My dad is such a hero and such a talent, and like he's really just paved such a way for us, and like his name is synonymous to anything with motors. So I think there'll always be that pressure. We'll always carry his surname and I'm so proud of it. But it definitely does bring extra pressure to any situation.
And you're one of 3 girls.
Yeah.
I'm right in that.
Yeah.
And how was that, obviously growing up with your father in very male dominated sports, plural? Was he sort of very encouraging of you joining the world? Was he quite protective of you? How did that look?
Our parents never defined us or our lives by our gender. And I think that's the most beautiful thing, is we grew up in a home where there was such open communication and we were never ever told we couldn't. And I think that that's really created like the space for us to be the women that we are today, because all of us work in the male industry. My sisters don't race, but they work in the industry. Yeah, and I just think that because our parents were so open to us being anything, doing anything, and following our hearts and our dreams, it opened so many doors for us to be the people that we wanted to be. They never ever said, oh, but you're a girl, you can't. And I think that's such an important conversation, because so much has become like noisy when it comes to gender nowadays. And I don't think gender or circumstances need to define you. Protective, like, he'll always protect me, but he's never ever fought my battles for me. He's given me the tools to fight my battles, and he's been a support and advice on how to fight my battles when I've needed it. But he's never ever gone and fought the battles for me.
It's amazing. And it's so like, such an interesting angle, because everything that we learn about our own limitations and about society's opinions and limitations set on us are put on us when we're children, right? We are absorbing everyone else's opinions and belief systems before we even had a choice. And for you literally grew up in this without limitations, right? With, you've had all these opportunities and these belief systems that were limitless.
Yeah.
Do you think that came with its own challenges?
I mean, yes and no. I think sometimes you can push boundaries. Like, I mean, we've grown up very confident in the sense that nothing will stop us. And I think sometimes that can be dangerous in a way. But at the same time, I think it's built such confidence and encouragement and independence in us as women that nothing feels intimidating, But it all stems from home. That's the reality, is that the way you grow up and the stories you hear and the conversations you hear and the language that's spoken around you shapes you as a person. And I don't think we realize how important that language is in a home until late in life, when you're an adult and you look back and you realize how that language can either limit you or strengthen you, and it can either make you dependent or independent. So I think that's a huge thing with parents, is like, it's such a fine line bringing up kids, because there's so many like things that are like on that line, but I don't think we realize how important our language is.
Huge. And it can be so subtle, and a lot of damage can be caused in the small moments that as a parent you don't even notice happened.
100%.
And yet it's molded something huge for your child that they're then going to have to pay a lot of money for therapy later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No
So,
pressure.
so Paige, so like everyone obviously sees this famous race car driving family. What don't they see?
A lot. My dad wrote a book a few years ago called Flat Out and Fearless, and he's basically like put the whole story of our lives on paper, which I think is a beautiful thing, as hard as it was to go through the writing of the book and like deal with everything and as a family. I think it's really beautiful because a lot of people see us now as a family and meet us now and don't actually know the history.
Yeah.
And they think that we've just had this incredible life where everything's been on a silver platter. But my dad's been declared dead twice in a coma. He was told to never talk or walk again when my mom was pregnant with me and she had a 1-year-old little girl, my older sister Kiara. He's broken every bone in his body numerous times, including his neck twice. My parents got divorced and remarried. They were separated for 8 years. So I actually never lived with my dad my whole high school career. I've always had a really good relationship with him. I never ever lost my relationship with him because I don't know why, but when it all happened, I was quite young. And I always decided that I wanted to understand both sides of it. You know, when the separation happened, I didn't agree with my dad's actions at all, but I wanted to understand why he did it. So I always maintained the relationship with my mom and my dad. I never ever lost time with them and a relationship with them. I try to understand both sides. And while I don't condone the behavior, I can understand why he felt certain ways and why things may have happened the way that they did. But it's not something like I'll ever let go of or forgive. It's something like it'll always be in the back of my mind. We've gone through financial turmoil, but one thing about my dad and my family is that they will always bounce back. Like no matter how high that mountain is to climb, he'll find a way to climb it and he'll do it successfully. And I think that's also a beautiful lesson to take away, and something that's just set me up for life, is that no matter how big the challenge is, like there's always a way to find, a way through it. And like when I'm hit with challenges now, I don't feel like it's the end of the world because I've been brought up with such an amazing role model that's always like seen the positive and found a way around it. So now I'll sit and be like, okay, well, how do we fix this? How do we find a way around it? It doesn't like come into my life and shatter everything, because we've had to deal with so much and push through so much as a family that like now I just deal with stuff. It comes my way and I figure it out and move on.
So you've spoken about some of the challenges that you guys have gone through as a family. Something I'm always like contemplating, and maybe you guys can both weigh in on this, is the topic of resilience. Because you meet some people that are just not resilient.
Yeah.
And like, is it something that's learned? Is it something that it's like a muscle that's developed when you go through hard times? Like, what builds resilience?
I don't know. Like, it's a good question because I do think a lot of it has to do with your upbringing. I think if you're brought up in a home with a lot of anxiety and role models that don't cope well with things, I think that's what you learn, right? Like, I don't know, maybe you know better with, what you do with the coaching and that, but like, are you born with these like traits of like anxiety and depression, and like, are those things you're born with, or is it things that are created by your environment? Because it's a hard thing for me. I mean, a lot of people struggle mentally with certain issues, like anxiety and depression and things like that, which is something I've never ever struggled with. And it's sometimes hard, I think, for people who don't struggle with it to understand it, because I think it can be so debilitating. But how do you really know how people feel if it's not something you struggle with? Which is actually, I've like always wanted to study psychology because I find it so interesting that like how the mind works. But at the same time, I also think you have a choice. But I don't know how those people feel in those anxious, depressed moments, because I have a very strong head, and I've also grown up, like you say, with this resilience because my parents are so resilient. So I don't know where it comes from, but I also I believe that you have a choice. You get circumstances, you get situations, and you can either accept them and sit back and feel sorry for yourself, or you can choose to change it and you can choose to find a way out. But I don't know if that's 10 times harder when you're not a mentally strong person, which I would imagine it is.
Yeah. Was there a point in your life when you were young, when all this happened with your mom and your dad and the circumstances around it, you chose curiosity over anger.
Yeah.
And that was at a very, very young age.
Yeah.
So is that driven by the relationship that you had with your dad and being introduced to these these worlds at 7 or 8 years old, do you think? Or did you have teachers or mentors throughout your schooling career that made you choose those ways?
No, I never had teachers or mentors outside of my family and my parents. I think I've always been quite a mature like mind and like I don't know, I'd say like a bit of an old soul in that sense, where like I've always tried to understand things before reacting. I don't know where the curiosity came from, and I don't know why at such a young age I was like so willing to try and understand a situation and understand people's feelings before reacting to it. And it wasn't to say I wasn't angry, and it wasn't to say I wasn't upset, because I felt all those things. But I saw a psychologist straight away. We were all given opportunity by our parents to see a psychologist, and myself and my one sister decided to do it. My other sister didn't want to speak about it. And I think speaking about it also allowed me to deal with a lot, and it allowed me to get a lot off my chest. So I do think that like holding things in is dangerous. And I do think the fact that I was able to speak about it and deal with it was great. But I also did have a different mindset, and I don't know where it came from. Yeah.
It's actually huge to, for your parents' generation to push going to see a therapist. Like I feel like in today's day and age, it's the norm. Something happens and the first thing that you think of is like, let me send them through to therapy because this is going to help shape them and how they overcome that. So to bring that so many years ago, I think, you probably need to thank them a lot.
Exactly.
Because it's probably shaped a big part of you without even realizing that it does. And then to pair that with the fact that you are an old soul and that you're very, like by the sounds of it, you're very mature for your age. Probably comes with the fact that you're driving a car at like 100 kilometers an hour at like 8. But
I think also like the maturity maybe did come from the racing, because I was like in the public eye in a sense. I was doing interviews and I was being photographed and like people were watching me, and I had to like have a presence and like, be able to hold myself at a very young age. Might have also brought that maturity and confidence a lot younger than would have happened if I wasn't involved in the sport that I was.
Yeah.
So, I've never actually thought of it that way, but I think it actually could have been what shaped me a lot as a person.
And then in business, you don't realize you carry that through as well, because now you can see both sides of the story.
Yeah. You're not just,
on the opposite side too.
Exactly. You're not just you're not just looking at the one side. You try to look at the bigger picture. I mean, I'd love to say I do it in everything, and I'd love to say that I always just sit back and look at the situation, because obviously we all react a lot quicker than we hope sometimes. So I can't say that I do it in my
Does your husband disagree with that?
He's probably like, don't know all. Yeah, so it's definitely not the case, but I also do choose my battles, and that's a conversation that I've had with so many friends actually in the last few weeks, is that like I just feel like it's not worth the fight. Like things are gonna drive you crazy, whether it's in business, whether it's with family, whether it's your husband, whether it's your kids. Like there's certain things that are gonna like trigger irritation or anger within you. Like laundry is always a great topic with a husband, because like the laundry basket's there and like it's always hanging over the laundry basket, and I don't understand why it's hanging over. My husband's good, he doesn't leave it on the floor. Like he at least puts it goes like into the laundry basket, but doesn't like go in, and it like hangs over. And I'm like, but why don't you just like put it in? Because it looks messy. So I'll just walk past and I'll put it in myself, because I know it irritates me. But like, is it actually worth going and having a fight about the laundry that's hanging over the laundry basket?
You know what I did? So there was like a number of times that Rory would literally put his washing like on the floor right there by the laundry basket. I'm like, and it got to a point where I was just like, I just don't get it. So I actually filmed it, and I'm like, I just will never understand a male's mind. And I put that on my Instagram story, and it's never happened.
You must have been furious. Well, my sister as well.
People that just laughed because they're just like, yes, like that's so much yes to this.
It doesn't, like, it makes no sense. But I think that's the reality, is that men and women are so different.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is like we've all grown up in such different environments. The way my husband was brought up is so different to the way that I was brought up. Now you're bringing those two completely different upbringings, and you're trying to put it into one home and make this one home work the way you want it to work. It's never gonna work the way you want it to work, because he was brought up so differently to me, and men just don't think like women do.
Exactly.
So for them it's okay to like leave the laundry on the floor and leave the dishes and like, I mean,
it's not out of spite.
I had such a laugh with a friend the other day, because she was, getting irritated about her partner not wanting to use a plate to eat a sandwich. And she's like, I don't get it. Like, now you have to clean up the mess. Like, just use a plate. And I was like, yeah, but it's exactly the same. Like, I've had a broken chessboard, like pieces of a broken chessboard sitting on my dining room table. It must be for over a month now. But do you think that they've been glued together? And I mean, there's been many opportunities to glue the chessboard together, but it's not going to get done unless I know I just go get the super glue and do it myself. Because, like, it's just, they don't think to do things. They can leave things lying there and, like, it doesn't bother them. Whereas as women, I'm like,
it's also like the object permanence. After a while, you don't even see that it's.
They don't see it.
Yeah. I hate to be that person to let you know that
it's not
I'm a dude.
Oh, yeah.
My laundry's next to the basket.
Is it really?
And I don't eat off a plate.
That's amazing. At least you're breaking the stereotypes.
I know.
Yeah.
I really want to lean into the femininity and.
Maybe that's why you're still single. One household.
Because if he came into my house and didn't put the laundry in the laundry basket and didn't eat off a plate, I would fucking kill him. But it's fine when I do.
Yeah, exactly. It's because you don't see it.
Yeah.
But it is true when you bring that back to the business world as well. Like the amount of times that, I'll have a look in a CRM and see that, notes aren't taken the way that they're supposed to, or a lead's in the wrong pipeline or whatever. And you just think to yourself, I just don't understand why. Yeah. But then the outcome still is there.
Yeah.
So if the result is there, you do have to pick your battles. And, I love the idea of like not playing the victim card.
Yeah.
Because life is hard and life can be shit, and things are going to be thrown at you every single day.
Yeah.
And so you can choose which way to go.
100%. Yeah, I think, like every choice has a consequence, right? And there's pros and cons to everything. So, I mean, now in my pregnancy, for example, like I made a promise to myself to move every single day. And some days that was the hardest thing on the planet. To go for a walk was like the hardest thing because you're nauseous and you feel uncomfortable and, your body hurts. And like to make the decision to get up and actually move at that point was probably the hardest decision. But I look back now and I'm so proud of myself because it was the best decision I ever made. So it's so easy to see, like, oh, you're in a position where it feels really hard now and you don't know how to push yourself past that. But there's pros and cons to that. Yep. Like either you're going to sit at home and do nothing for 9 months and use that as your excuse and you're going to have a mountain to climb after the 9 months, or you're going to make a promise to yourself. And as hard as it is to get up and make that decision there and then, the reward is so much greater than what the consequence would have been for me.
Yep.
So it's hard because you have these decisions and in the moment, it's probably the hardest thing to like get up and make the change or make the move. But when you look back at it, it's probably the best thing you could have done for yourself.
And it's those marginal gains, it's like those small incremental things you do daily and those daily habits that allows you to get there. Because now, when you look at somebody running, Comrades as a perfect example, you've got Gerda running, 4-minute K or whatever, and you've got somebody else running a 4-minute 10K, yet they finish how many hours behind her. And it's those, that distance over time increases exponentially. And then for you to be getting up and moving throughout your pregnancy, I'm assuming that it allowed you to get back in the car a bit quicker.
Yeah, I mean, I raced while I was 6.5 months pregnant. And then eventually
Could you even fit?
I could fit. My tummy was quite small then still, but then all of a sudden, it did pop. In fact, I didn't feel like it, I felt big, but then I also felt like, it wasn't that big. And then I'd look at a photo that someone would take and I'd be like, oh my gosh, my stomach is huge. I didn't feel like it was as big. But I raced till 6.5 months pregnant till my husband and my dad were like, it's enough. You cannot do this anymore. It's dangerous. And then I got back into the car 7 weeks postpartum.
Wow.
So I was strong.
And did mentally have you found becoming a mother has changed you in terms of your career, racing, taking risks?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a mindset, it's a mind shift. My biggest fear going back into racing was the feeding because I've chosen to breastfeed. So I'm like, how is this baby going to stay alive if I'm in a car all day?
Not the 200 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, not that.
That was my
wow race.
All jokes aside, I really did. I'll tell you that story now. But yeah, my biggest fear for the first race back was nice in a hill climb and you're in the car every hour. And I was like, I'm breastfeeding a 7-week-old baby. There's no schedule. When he's hungry, he's hungry. There's nothing you can do. And that was my biggest fear. Is how am I going to make sure he's fed the whole time and okay while I'm still, trying to race? So obviously bottles and pumping and a bit of formula will always help. And then it did cross my mind. Like all of a sudden I realized that I'm not now just living for myself. Like this little thing is so dependent on me.
Yes.
And he needs me more than he needs anything else in the world. And that's definitely been a mind shift. Like I know he needs me so much that I think there is a slight hesitation in the way you live. But at the same time, like I really love what I do and I don't want to stop it. So I'm trying really hard to keep my mind positive and not let that affect me and stop me from doing what I love. But it's definitely in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. For now, I still feel okay. I've only had one race since he was born. It was when he was 7 weeks old. Now he's in the hill climb. My next race is in July, which is a track race. But I'm like quite confident in my racing and ability that I'm relatively safe. But it's obviously a dangerous sport and you never know what will happen. But I do think it's definitely a mind shift. So it's going to be interesting to see where things go. Like, it's, I mean, even just leaving him for a few hours, I feel guilty that, like, you know, is he okay? Is he upset? Like, is, you know, everyone, like, he's with going to be okay with him? Like, I think
and he will be.
He will be.
Yeah.
But I think as a mom, it's constantly in your mind. Like, there's always mom guilt of, like, are they okay?
Wow.
I think the minute that baby's born, like, a piece of you is forever just living outside of your body. And you're constantly worried about it.
And so on that, you know, I assume you can't let any fear creep in while you're behind the wheel, because the moment that happens, that's when accidents can happen, right?
My dad's literally always said the day you feel fear is the day you stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you can't let that happen.
Has he ever felt fear, considering how many times he's nearly died?
No, I don't think he's ever felt fear. I mean, it's an interesting one. I need to ask him, but as far as I know, he's never ever felt fear. He's fearless. Too fearless, actually.
Does he still drive?
He stopped racing in 2021. He retired. His body is just so sore. Like, he's been through so much. So to get in and out of the car became quite difficult. So he decided to stop. But then in February, I obviously wasn't racing because I was 9 months pregnant. And there weren't enough drivers for all the cars that we needed to race at a race. And I tried to offer my services to drive, but I was turned down. So my dad got into my race car and raced it for the first time in 5 years. He hasn't been in a race car, and it was like the best thing for him. It literally, and it gave him like the switch of like where he just wants to get healthy and fit again, and like it just changed his whole mindset. It was the best thing that could have ever happened at this stage in life for him. So our racing team turns 50 next year, which is a huge year for us. So there's lots of conversation around the next steps.
Yeah.
But for now, he's not racing.
That's exciting. It's that mindset of just knowing that if he wanted to, he
can
could
do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I think we become so complacent and stuck in our own heads where we feel like we can't do things. So, I mean, I came back after having my baby and started running a little bit, and I was doing like 5-6 kilometers. And then a week or two ago, my group were running 10 kilometers on a Saturday, and I was like, I can't do 10 kilometers. And
I've just had a baby.
Yeah, they were like, why? I'm like, but I just had a baby. Like, I've just come back. I've only run 5 or 6 kilometers. And they were like, but try. Like, you're going to be on your own. If you want to turn back, but you're running alone, which we all know is not the right thing to do, you know, on the roads. So I was like, okay, either I'm going to brave it and run on my own, or I'm going to just try and stick with a like slower group and see if I can do it. And I did like 9.2 kilometers with no stress and felt so good about it. And I was like, actually, like, why was I so scared to go and run further? It's not like I couldn't, but in my head I felt like I've just had a baby and I can't. But I actually didn't try, and I decided like, okay, well, if I need to walk, I'll walk, but let's give it a go. And I was perfectly fine. I mean, the same thing at F45. Like, I finally went back to F45, and the one instructor came to me and he's like, what are your calories? And I showed him, and he's like, why are you lifting so light? And I was like, I've just come back. It's like my second class. I just had a baby. And he's like, so? He's like, you were lifting way heavier when you were 9 months pregnant. You were here. Like, I was at F45 till the day before I gave birth. I did it. So I wasn't at my full capacity, obviously.
Exactly. But you still showed up.
I showed up and I did what I could, and the instructors were amazing. And I like, you know, and he's like, but you were lifting heavier the day, like, you know, just before you gave birth, you were here lifting, and now you scared. He's like, you can do better than that. And I was like, you're right, like, I really can. And I went back the Thursday and I lifted heavy and felt great, and there were no issues. And I was like, you see, it's all in your mind. It's crazy how your mind like plays games on you.
It is. And that again comes down to choice. And what I love, you know, with some of the business coaching and stuff that I'm involved with some masterminds and stuff like that, is that they say, you know, we're teaching you the tools to allow you to not have to be involved day to day. but you can still choose to be involved day to day. Like, but you get to choose. It's not that because Karen is scheduled at 5 o'clock in the morning and she must show up. But if she wants to show up at 5 o'clock in the morning and coach a class or jump in that car or whatever that might look like, you get to choose to do that.
100%. Yeah, and like, I mean, even now, you know, with a baby, like timing is not on your side. Like while you're working and you got a child, and like it's time is really like the most important thing. And I spoke to a girl the other day that I work with, and she's like, you know, I really wish I could go back to exercising, but I don't have time. And I was like, but you work for yourself. She's like, yeah. I was like, so it's like schedule an hour in your day where like you are not available and you can go for a walk with your baby because it's possible. But in our heads, we like, but we're so busy and we got to work and we got to do, and we don't actually like force ourselves to carve that time out for ourselves. And what I think the biggest thing is that if you can find the time to do that, you become a better version of yourself. And by being a better version of yourself, you can show up better for other people, including your kids.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of guilt around like, oh, but I don't have time to gym because I'm away from the kids for an hour. But by me gymming for an hour makes me happier and a better person. And I know that I'm going to show up better in my day for other people if I get that hour to myself.
Yeah.
It's the filling your cup before you can
like
fill
I'm
anyone
making
else's.
a point of forcing myself to get up and go to gym even if I'm tired and I haven't slept all night. Like I get that, but like I'm a happier, better person by going to gym. So I'm forcing myself to find the time to make that work.
Yeah. It's counterintuitive because the more tired you are, the less you want to do.
Yeah.
But the more you do, the less tired you are.
Yeah. 100%.
Particularly when it comes to working out.
Yeah.
It has to be a non-negotiable.
And that's your choice.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everybody has things that work for them. Like my like mental stability and like my happy place is exercising. Like I really enjoy it. It makes me happy. You know, like when I'm sick for a week and I can't do anything, my husband really feels it because I'm like just not as happy and like myself as I normally am. So I know that that's something that feeds my soul and that I need to find time for, and I need to make a point of it, as hard as it is, even if it means a half an hour walk with my baby in a carrier, because that's all that I have time for. It's still getting out and moving, and that makes me happy.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about being fit and exercising and tying it into your day. Like everyone thinks it has to look like a hardcore gym session or you have to go for a run. It doesn't. Movement looks different for everyone in every season of life. In, you know, whatever stage you're at.
Absolutely.
You know, whether it's just stretching on your yoga mat in the morning because that's all your body can do right now, or if it is a walk instead of a run. It's giving yourself that grace that it doesn't have to always be Sweat 1000 class.
Exactly. 100%.
It's just movement, and it's time out of your day, and it's just reconnecting with your body.
Yeah, even if you're going for a half an hour walk, the fact that you like removing yourself from the desk and the phone and the noise. It's that half an hour to just clear your head. And like, you know, gym is the one time where like nobody phones me. If they do, I don't hear it. So,
Exactly.
like it's the one time where I have no phones, no laptop, no people, no noise. It's myself. Like it's that hour to myself to go and push myself to my own limits and to just have that like mental break. I think in your day, that hour to yourself is so important, especially now becoming a mom, because like now I've got a baby attached to me when I go a week, you know, it's a very different life to what it was before. So I personally feel like that hour is just the best escape you can give to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And so your husband, Jono, he's very supportive, obviously, of your career and everything that you do. What does he say when you're looking to push these limits in business and in the car, and now you got little Ruffy there? Is he like your biggest cheerleader?
Yeah, he's amazing. He's really incredible. He's never ever stopped me from doing anything. And that was a huge conversation when it came to having a baby, was I didn't want my life to stop. And he was so supportive of that, which I think is so important. But yeah, sometimes he thinks I'm crazy. Sometimes he puts the brakes on for me when I can't, which he needs sometimes. But yeah, he's just the most incredible, supportive husband I could ever ask for. I am too much sometimes. Like I sometimes don't know limits and I will push too hard. And he's really good at helping me find that balance or reining me in when it needs to be reined in a bit. But he's never ever stopped me from doing anything. If anything, he's encouraged me to take that leap and give it a go.
Yeah, because it's difficult. You know, you've got the marketing side. You're obviously racing. You building an empire as a family. So it's not just Paige, but it's the whole family. And now you're also doing the car basics, which what builds confidence for women to be able to do the basics within a car, right? Is that what, changing tires?
Yeah, so it's basically just how to change your tires, jumpstart your car, how to check your oil, or water, just the basics day to day, especially like if you get stuck with a puncture on the side of the road as a woman on your own, like how do you know how to help yourself?
Yes.
And that was my biggest thing, is to just give people that skill, especially women.
And on a bigger level, what is that? What else are you giving them?
Independence. Independence and confidence to be able to function alone. I think that was the biggest thing. Like when my parents got divorced, the biggest lesson I think that I took away from it all, and the biggest thing I learned, was independence, because I saw my mom, because she worked for my dad, her life was so intertwined with his, and I felt like she had very little independence at the time of the divorce, and that hit me harder than anything, because I was like, I never want to be reliant on somebody. I want to be able to look after myself and fend for myself if it's ever needed. And I think that's what really pushed me to like be successful and do what I can to be as independent as I can be, which is sometimes a flaw and a problem, especially when it comes to a relationship. I think, you know, like if there's a light bulb that's needs to be changed, I don't have to wait for somebody to do it for me, and I don't need to ask for it. I can get on a ladder and do it myself, which is not always the best decision, because I think your partner also feels like they are the man in the house and they should have that responsibility. So it's like quite a fine line, because I'm sometimes a little bit too independent. I can do it myself, but I also need to learn to ask for help, especially now with the baby. Like I can't do it all. I need support and help, and I'm not good at asking for help because I've grown up being independent, and that's such a big thing in my head. Like I think it's actually a disservice sometimes that because I went through what I did with my parents in the divorce, and I always had this thing afterwards about how I had to be independent, I probably shoot myself in the foot a lot because I don't like asking for help. I'd rather just take it all on myself, knowing I will get it done. No matter how I get it done, I will get it done, and I don't often reach out for help.
Yeah, it's such an interesting conversation to have. Like, I am queen of independence.
Yeah.
Any DIY I can do, I can build shit, I can, like, there's no limit, because I'm always like, well, I don't need to ask anyone for help. I can just figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, watch a quick YouTube video, everything is figure outable.
Yeah.
But in a relationship, it's dangerous. And I've seen that in relationships I've been in. Like, you have to sometimes lean more into the feminine side and say, please be my big, strong hero. That's
exactly what it is. It's like the masculine versus feminine. Like, it's all good and well to be independent, but is it like too masculine? Because you shouldn't have the masculine role necessarily, because it takes away from the way your partner feels sometimes. Like, it's quite a juggle.
In that, are we instinctively trying to protect their egos? Is that our job?
Yeah, it's not our job. That's the reality. It's not our job. But it's also not necessarily our job to do the light bulbs and I feel like men and women feel like they have certain places and responsibilities in a relationship and in a home. I don't think we should overstep those where we can avoid it. But I mean, also living on your own as a woman, like I've lived on my own since I matriculated. My parents moved to Langebaan in the Western Cape, which was such a small town. There was no university, nothing there. So like I was forced to leave home when I matriculated and go live on my own. So I lived on my own for so long that like I didn't wait for my dad to come visit me in Stellenbosch and help me fix the light. Like I figured it out on my own and made it work. So I think moving in with my husband and learning to live together, you have to let go of a lot of that, because I know I can do it myself, but I don't need to do it myself. And it is something that helps them feel like they're contributing and that they can bring to the party, because there's 10 times more responsibility on a woman in a home, in my opinion. Just because it's the groceries and the cooking and running a household, most of the time women run a household. It's just the way it is. So I think by giving them responsibility and asking for the help, it sort of empowers them in a way. And you shouldn't really take that away. I don't know if it's an ego thing, but I know I can do it, but should I be doing it? I can just ask for the help and, not add another thing to my 10,000 page list of things to do.
You're giving yourself permission to accept the fact that you don't have to do everything. Because also as a mother, I feel that our mental load is huge.
100%.
To the point of, you know, the kids drop off and the kids pick up and the, you know, did they pack their library books and all this stupid rubbish that, not to say that our husbands aren't thinking of that as well, but for some reason I feel like it falls on us.
100%. Like, it's not that they're not present and they're not,
Yeah.
like, I mean, Rory's an amazing dad.
Yeah.
He's always involved and always around. Like, Jono's an
and
amazing
let's be honest,
dad.
you don't do the cooking.
I don't know. But Rory's just so good at it.
I know, he really is. And I think he picks up a lot of stuff
does,
without having to be told.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the norm.
Yeah. But Jono's the same, right?
He is,
He
yeah.
also is so
He'll
like that.
cook and he'll,
Yeah.
like,
But
he'll
we're in
pick
South
it up. Yeah, exactly. Or he won't braai in the week because it's like admin. So then I actually bought a gas braai that
I
day,
was
like a
gonna
small
say,
gas
yeah.
braai, and I was like, we're gonna use this in the week because I really enjoy like braai meat and salad is healthy and quick and
best.
easy.
Yeah.
But he's so anti-gas. He's like, you can't gas braai.
I mean, I tell Rory that all the time. Is it a braai if you did it on gas?
It tastes so good.
I know. So then eventually the other night I was like, okay, we're trying this, and he's like, actually, this is really easy and good.
And
I'm
it's
like,
quick to
well,
clean.
there you go.
There you
Like,
go.
You're done. You're not cooking anymore.
I mean, I would love that. But yeah, I think you need to, it's so hard to say because every situation and person's different and your life's different, your home environment's different. So it can't be a stereotype. But I think finding a person who can pick up those pieces for you. There's that beautiful saying of, you know, like you're never going to be 100% all
Yes.
the time. So if I'm 50% today, then Jono needs to be the other 50%. And if I can be 70% today and he can only be 30, that's okay.
Yes.
And I think you've got to find that person where you don't have to have the conversation. You can see it and you can just sort of pick up the pieces that are falling where the other one can't be as
Yes.
available, which I think we do really well. Like we've got an amazing relationship and like somehow we've just figured out this new routine with the baby that it just, we haven't had to sit down and have a conversation and say, okay, you're responsible for and I am responsible for. Like,
Which I think is quite rare.
yeah, somehow we've just managed to like fill the gaps and figure it out. And I'm not saying our relationship's perfect and that we're perfect. We have our, you know, challenges and like, you know,
Which
our
makes you stronger.
disagreements. Yeah. But at the same time, like we have found parenting has been easy in a way, and it's like been such a beautiful journey where we've kind of just started into this new way of life and figured things out. And I think it's also because we don't sweat the small stuff. Neither of us are like nitpicky people and neither of us are argumentative. Like we kind of just go with the flow, figure things out. Like, yes, we'll get irritated with each other, but like we kind of just brush it off and move to the next thing and carry on. I mean, obviously if it's something fundamental, there'll be a conversation around it. But I think we both choose our battles really wisely. Like back to the plate. Like if you don't want to use a plate, cool, don't use a plate. I actually don't care. Like I don't have the time and the energy to worry about you using a plate or you not fixing my chessboard.
Yes.
Like I'll do it when I have the time and the
doesn't
chessboard will
impact
just sit
me.
there until it's fixed. And
Maybe
it's
just
okay.
to go in the bin.
It's okay.
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
that that's so important. Like I'm such a neat freak and like my house is always like, it freaks me out when things are a mess. And I feel like my house has been a mess for 3 months since my baby was born, just because like there's prams and there's toys and there's like all these things lying around. And somehow I've just had to like breathe and be like, it's okay. This is the season that we're in and life feels chaotic and it feels like it's a bit of a mess and it's not my normal mess. And like, I can't have a perfectly neat house all the time. And I just have to accept that like, this is the season I'm in right now and it's actually okay.
It's like Mel Robbins, like that let them, let me theory. It's just like you have to, because otherwise you're going to drive
Make
yourself
yourself crazy.
crazy. And
Can't control it.
yeah. And it sounds like, you know, you show up or your approach to motherhood is kind of like how you approach race car driving, very deliberate, very disciplined. You hold yourself accountable. Like, is there a point in time where like discipline hasn't been enough?
Yeah, like I feel like I'm like really struggling to find the balance. Like I feel like I'm just constantly in a rat race of chaotic like juggle. Like, and every day I'm like, okay, you need to try figure out like a routine or a way to do things. And like the discipline with the routine with my baby is probably the hardest thing for me because I'm so desperate to like, and I think that's also a part of like letting go. I'm so desperate to get into some kind of routine to help myself and to just feel better about my days, because right now, like I'm such a planner. Like I know like where things are, what I'm doing, when, you know, and like now with the baby, there is very little that I can plan, you know, and I feel like it's all over the place, and it's kind of forced me to let go and be in the moment, which is a beautiful thing, and it's not part of my personality at all. Like that is Jono. Jono
Yeah.
loves the like, let's just see, you know, like we don't have to plan. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I know what I'm doing next week, Wednesday at 11 o'clock, you know,
Yeah.
like I've got my diary and it's set out. So yeah, I feel like discipline at the moment is hard for me because I'm just trying to fit it all in, and I'm still trying to figure out my new normal.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do things with my baby and for my baby, and still look after myself and run the businesses and work and do everything. Like there isn't enough time in the day. And I feel like if I can figure out a routine, it might help me a bit more, but I need to be a lot more disciplined and like force the routine with my child, which he like, well, ultimately it'll take a few days to get used to, and like he'll get a bit niggly and upset, which I'm like, is it really worth upsetting him right now? Like it's working and we're okay. So yeah, I don't know. I think if I can be more disciplined where I'm like setting aside time for certain things,
Yeah.
I think I might be a little bit more present and feel less overwhelmed. But I need to figure out how to get to that point.
Yeah. And we need to be okay with, to your point, with your friends, you know, blocking that time off also to spend with them.
Exactly.
Because the family, you know, they are the rubber ball that keeps bouncing back. And that's why they always get like, you know, pushed to the side almost. And then you feel so guilty because you're like, wait, what am I doing? Like I've got this all backwards.
Yeah. I think that's so important. Like, I mean, my family are incredible and I'm really close to my family. My sister's been the biggest support with my baby. And like, I kind of struggle to let anyone else in to help with my baby because like I trust her and I know she'll give him everything he needs, and I know I can leave him with her for hours, and whatever goes on, she'll figure it out because he's happy with her. But to just leave him with other people, like, gives me anxiety because I'm like, will they be able to settle him and like make sure he's okay without me there? Like, she's kind of become the only person that I really trust with him at the moment. I mean, we've got an amazing nanny who's really good with him as well, but friends are probably the most important thing in our lives without us realizing, because as much as family are important and amazing, like friends are always outside of it, like the box that you live in, right? Like family, it's so close to home that like it's almost,
they have to love and support you.
Exactly. And like it's a bit of a blurred or I'm trying to figure out what the word is, but like, yeah, either way they'll support you, whether you're right or wrong, they'll always have your back. Whereas a friend on the outside will maybe look at it and be like, actually, you being unfair or you being wrong, or like it's an outsider opinion and it's so fresh because it's not as supportive as what
and
family
intimate,
has to be.
More objective.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I've got incredible friends. I'm really lucky. I've got amazing friends. And that's one thing I'm really good at, is carving out time for other people. In fact, I probably can stop worrying about other people a bit. Like, I think I put too much time into trying to look after everyone else and make sure they're okay and like show up for all my friends. Whereas like now with life being so chaotic, I think I could actually like stop worrying so much about everybody else and actually focus a bit more on myself and my family. But I find that difficult.
Yeah, it's like because you got to be selfish.
Yeah.
And that's not in your personality.
Not good at it at all.
But you're
like,
allowed to be.
I know.
You get permission
I need to try.
that. Yeah. And it starts by making that conscious effort initially. And then knowing that it feels uncomfortable and then leaning into that discomfort.
Yeah.
And then realizing actually nothing is falling around me.
They're all going to
If
survive.
anything, it's going to be stronger.
Yeah. They're all going to survive. If I don't speak to them or check in on them, like, they're going to be okay. Like,
And
you don't have to have guilt.
And a lot of the times we feel the guilt because we haven't managed expectations.
Yeah.
So how can you do that in a gentle way and say, guys, I love you, but for this season, I just might not be my usual.
As available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's managing those expectations. And as soon as you've actually done that, the burden that you've put on yourself often lifts.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing it without feeling like we're betraying everyone else.
Yeah. And I think that's actually like harder with family than it is with friends. I think friends are more understanding of boundaries and expectations than what family are.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of just like this unspoken language that family have a right to be there and to do everything. And like, there's sort of no boundary with family, like, you know, and I think that's the hardest thing, is to try and I mean, I'm really lucky with my family. I don't feel that way at all. I feel very supported by my family. But I think it's harder for people to have boundaries with family than it is to have boundaries with friends.
Yeah. Especially once you get the in-laws involved too.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like it's hard because you know your family and they know you and the way you show up and I think it's hard when you bring that additional element into it and then you have a baby and then everyone wants to be involved there and then you have these opinions and everything's just building and now suddenly you feel like you're not good enough and now you're going back to work and why are you going back to work and why are you getting back in that car? You know, it's dangerous and so like you've just got so much that then just tends to spiral. So, you know, I'm proud of you that you're able to like keep yourself grounded so well.
Yeah, and I think like the hardest thing when you have a baby is like people show up to see the baby. So they'll arrive to see the baby, but like there's actually very little consideration for you.
Yeah.
And very little consideration for your space. So they'll walk into your home, take the baby, sit with the baby, but when the baby's niggly or hungry, they'll give the baby back and leave.
That's your problem.
And I'm like, but you could have made us some coffee. You could have offered to go to a grocery shop for me and taken my card. Like, I don't expect you to pay for it, but like, offer to help in ways that don't involve the baby. Like, I get you want to spend time with the baby and, you know, it's all exciting. But at the same time, like, our whole world has changed and like, our whole world is chaotic and it's all good and well to come and hold the baby for an hour and sit on my couch and have tea and coffee in my house. But like, offer a little bit of assistance in ways that, you know, like just random things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know of examples, but that's what I felt was like the hardest thing coming home from hospital with my baby is like I had all these visitors and everybody wanted to see the baby. And I was like, but it was actually more stressful for me to have all these people in my house the whole time because I never had time to myself to like recover, spend with my baby, have a nap, like figure out, you know, my new normal. And all of a sudden I just constantly had to like be happy and welcome everyone into my home to just hold my new baby and like hi, like
We will also unpack the dishwasher. Thanks.
Enjoy the baby, you know. So I think that's been a hard one for me. Is like everybody is excited about the baby, and I think you have to be a very strong person to know that like it's not against you.
Yes.
And also understand that everybody thinks differently. I've been brought up so differently. Like my family are just they just show up in every way. Like when they came to my house, like whenever they come to my house now, still to this day, like my sister will come to my house with coffee. Like she'll never arrive empty-handed. And it's not about
Karen does the same.
Yeah. It's not about bringing things.
Yes.
It's not that I'm expecting things. But like, it's that fact of like,
small things.
It's the small things, you know, like arriving at my house when I've just had a baby with groceries. Like, I don't expect that. I don't want you to pay for it. But like, just to show up in ways that like, you know, you can help me and change things because I'm so overwhelmed and drowning in this new normal. Like it's just such a different way that I've grown up with, you know, such support on my family. Like my parents live in the Cape and still like they'll send stuff to my house and like show up in ways that like nobody else does. And that was a hard lesson I learned a long time ago when it came to friends as well, is that don't expect.
Yeah.
Because I've grown up a certain way and I've grown up with such good morals and like my mom is just the most incredible woman on the planet. Like she just constantly gives and cares and does. And I've grown up with that as a like mentor and like I've grown up watching that, so I behave in a similar manner. Like if somebody's having a hard time, I'll send them some food. You know, if someone's like, I'll check in. And then we have a baby and I'm like, but some of our best friends took 2 months to meet him. And I'm like, I would never be that person. Like, I don't understand how it took you 2 months to come and meet your best friend's baby and hold the baby. Like, it doesn't make sense in my head. But then I have to remind myself that I've just been brought up so differently that like what I think is right and what I would do by thinking it's right just doesn't cross people's minds. And
or they were trying to respect your space. Or
exactly.
your privacy.
They think differently. And that's a hard one. Like you need to just stop having expectations because the minute you have expectations, you get let down.
Yes.
Whereas if you don't have an expectation,
you get pleasantly surprised.
Exactly. And yeah, I think because I've been brought up with such an amazing family and they always show up in so many ways, like it's almost like falsified my interpretation of what everybody should be like, and not everyone is like that.
Yeah, exactly. So what's next for Paige?
figuring out this new normal, like a routine. All I want is routine. No, I think just to try get back into the swing of things. Like now I'm trying to figure out how to get back into gym because obviously someone always has to be with the baby. I like to say babysitting, but they say you can't call it babysitting when it's your own child. So
Language.
one of us need to be with our child at all times.
Yes.
So I think that's the hardest thing for me right now is to like figure out my new normal in all of the chaos. Like I still want to be able to get up in the morning and train, but my husband also trains. So like how do we figure out so that both of us are filling our cups and getting what we need, but still keeping our child, you know, alive and okay and being with him. And I think my biggest thing right now is to figure out how to be as present as I can be in certain moments because it's so easy to like have my baby in one arm and be working and on the phone and my laptop in the other arm. But the older he gets, the more he's going to notice that. And that's something I don't want him to grow up feeling that like he's just like there while I... So I think, my biggest thing right now is to figure out how to carve out the time to be present with him. So, you know, if I can be present with him for an hour without everything else. I think that's the biggest thing for me right now is to just figure out my new normal. Racing's carrying on. I'm back in the car in July and that's something I never want to stop. Like my biggest thing right now is to not let motherhood define me and change who I am. And as hard as that I think is going to be, especially I think opinions, like you say, everybody has an opinion. Like, are you stupid for going back to racing, being a new mom? And I'm sure a lot of people out there do think I'm probably stupid. And I'm sure there's so much encouragement and support, but at the same time, there's definitely judgment.
There's always going to be that as soon as you're a mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's managing that. Like, this is my life, my decision. I'm not going to go and be stupid about it.
Yes.
But at the same time, why should I stop living and stop being the person I am because I'm a mom? Like,
yeah, exactly.
So not much change. I mean, my world's changed completely bringing a baby into the mix, but I still do all the work things and the car things and trying to get back into training. My goal is to try and do High Rocks in November.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to it.
I think a lot of people will. But yeah.
By yourself or with someone?
I think I'll do a partner.
Yeah, it's fun with someone.
Yeah. I think too much pressure on your own for now.
And it's a hard race by yourself.
Yeah.
Like to do that 1,000-meter ski. Oh my God, no.
I love how that's your worst. Mine's those damn lunges. There's no way.
But how tall you are. You got a long way to go down.
So fun. It's like a meter to get my knee to the ground. It just doesn't happen.
I mean, I would love that. Yeah, and I think like it's a conversation I had yesterday. Actually, I was a guest speaker for a Women in Leadership conference, and the topic came up about like, what are your, like, how do you set goals for yourself long term? And I was like, I actually don't set long term goals because my body and my brain works in a way where like, I need a goal now. Like, I need a goal in 3 months, like my running. Yeah. For me to get back to running properly, I need to enter a 21-kilometer race in 2 or 3 months because I know
the pressure.
By entering that, I know I need to show up in 2 or 3 months. Yeah. And that pushes me through. So my biggest thing is to live day by day. Life is short. You never know what's going to happen. And to plan 5 years from now, it's all good and well. But for me, it's the short-term goals and reaching those and then setting the next one because that's what drives me. So yeah, I just want to get back into like a healthy, fit, calm routine somehow.
Calm.
like drop the chaos a little bit. Yeah. But I think it'll come with time.
Yeah, it all comes by setting the right intention.
Yeah.
And so if you know that that's what it is that you want, you'll do it. You've got the head for it.
Yeah, no changes. I'm going to try and carry on as normal as I can, keep reaching for the goals that I have and pushing myself as hard as I can, but also trying to be kind to myself in the days that I can't do it. Some nights are harder than others. And I think I also need to allow myself to be in this space right now. So in the days where it's harder to show up, it's okay to not show up. So I think I need to be kinder to myself along the journey. But for now, I would love to keep life as normal as I can. And that was the plan all along. Yeah. So hopefully I can do that.
I love that.
Awesome. Well, one question that we ask all of our guests is, Paige, what is the room you've built?
Sure. I think the biggest thing for me in the room I've built, especially as a woman, is confidence and independence and belief in yourself. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Yeah.
Amazing.
Drives everything.
Yeah.
And the car.
The woman in the helmet.
Yeah.
I love it.
Amazing. Well,
thanks,
thank you
Paige.
so much. Yeah,
thank
it's been such
so
a great
much.
conversation.
It's been so
And,
good. Good
yeah.
luck with this. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Very
Yeah.
excited.
Awesome. Thank you.
Done. That's a wrap.